What I want to know is how the hell y'all play 3 of these in a day? Like
I can go again. Let's go.
All right, start on that side of the table. Start with the newbies. We'll go clockwise. So, newbies by
Sure. No, yeah,
relatively
I would
speaking.
call myself a newbie at this.
Yes.
So, what'd you think?
I mean, it's great. So, yeah, this game was so different than... So, I've done this 3 times, and it's all been this week. I played a 3-player, a 4-player, and now this 5-player, and it's so different every single time. This was so tight and so hard to, like I couldn't... That $30 at the beginning makes such a huge difference, and it makes it so much harder to open a company and, like, get a reasonable private, like, portfolio, and... Yeah, but it's great. Like, it's just the right kind of hard, you know?
Mm-hmm. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoy it. This is my 3rd play of 1889 and also 3rd play of any 18xx game.
Yeah.
It's like every game's going to play differently just based on the private's going to come out, what people are going to do, because every little thing is like butterfly effect on everything.
Big time.
Yeah, especially the track laying is like someone plays that one track like 4 operating rounds ago. It's like, oh, now I'm blocked.
Right.
Because there's nothing I can do about it. Or, so it's, every game's different. But, like, the rule is really not that complicated.
We weren't referencing the rules hardly at all the entire game, and it's not like we're all experts at this, so.
Like, but the depth of the game, the rule is actually relatively light.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And once you learn one 18xx, the rest kind of... Okay, they kind of like an Age of Steam map, right? You got the basics. Now, what are the MacGuffins? Where is the Chrome? What makes it different? That type thing.
So I've been playing XX games about maybe 6 months now. This is about my 12th play of a whole bunch of different kinds of games.
Okay.
And playing this last week with a different group was really instructive.
How so?
Because when I started playing, I was starting playing with people who were like me. We're all at the same level, and it's hard to see somebody who's much more experienced come in and do something to you when they're not there. So we were kind of, you're playing a certain kind of way, we assumed there's a certain kind of rhythm to playing this game, and then within 2 or 3 moves of the practice game last week, total game changer. And it made me reevaluate this game into something completely different. And also the style of this group's play is very different than I've played this with 3 different groups now. And each group has a different kind of style.
Like what? Like can you
more aggressive blocking.
This
nasty track laying.
Have you met these people? Exactly.
Which is situationally part of the game. It depends on what the situation on the table is at any given time. Another group much more about the finance, willing to sell down companies and still hold on to them with very little, trusting that they'd be able to either get them back or let it go. So watching them sell down to get other stuff and having this cascading effect, sell down, get another one, sell down, get another one, hop, hop, hop. And then the group that we started playing with, which is the one I've played it with the most, where we're all kind of learning from scratch. So I love how different... I mean, this game is a fairly straightforward core. There's not a lot of chrome to this one.
Yeah, this is like this is what you start with, now go out and go try with other stuff, right?
Yeah, so it's quite pure.
Yeah, it's 1830-ish, almost to a T.
And I love that, in the space of a week's play, feels very, very different than it did a week before.
In a good way?
Oh yeah. You like, and I mean, even just the seating, great, loved it, had a great time.
All right, Miss. I don't know what you're talking about with running these companies.
I don't know why I have to worry about that.
Are you?
But I mean, what happened as far as the beginning at the bidding at the beginning of the game really directed that. I wouldn't have done that if it hadn't come out. I was planning to start a company, and
I was
even
trying to get
mid-game, I was like, "Oh, I'm still going to start a company," and then I was like, "I don't have to." Like, there's a lot of you guys were able to manipulate the stocks more in the beginning, and we're doing that could mess with me, or I could take on a company, which I didn't want to take on the wrong company, so there was that. But once that kind of passed, you get a little into your companies and your plan of like, oh, I'm going to switch this, so I don't want to get rid of this one. I want to have both. So there's less of that. There was less of concern. Then I could really get into that investor strategy and start messing with that. And there were mean things I could have done that was mentioned in the peanut gallery. I know I could have like really started tanking stocks and messing things up. I thought about it. The payoff wasn't that great. It was also going to take a lot of time going around to do that. And I didn't, it felt like too much screwage for benefit to me. And
like doing it for effect more than
it would have been doing it to mess around. I would have gotten a little higher, but I knew I was in a good position. I also thought that, honestly, I thought it was going to make me more of a target. I thought I could fly a little under the radar if I didn't start doing that. I thought if I really started selling and buying, then they'd really start to pay attention to, well, wait a minute, we got to do something about that. So I didn't want it done back to me. So I didn't do that.
Ignore the woman.
Yeah, I was like, don't pay attention to that. So Thomas asked if it was too passive. It's a little bit passive, but there's plenty to be doing. You were all so taken up with what you were going to do with your companies. I needed to watch that. Keep in mind, I can't not pay attention to that because what I'm investing in really matters what they're doing. So it is not passive to the point I can't pay attention to, or I can just zone out. I need to know how these companies are doing, what decisions they're making, so that I either get out or buy others or, kind of work on my portfolio that way.
So like an investor.
Yes. So I was, exactly. So I'm watching that. Now, mind you, I had a ferry the whole time. I just didn't have trains. I had a ferry. It was making me plenty of money, my little ferry.
I'm so
the
mad
ferry's
you got
where it's
that.
at.
TTMF?
Yeah.
Toot.
So I was having fun with my ferry. But no, I don't think it was passive. It also gave me a lot of time to calculate out. And but how my brain works, I was like, okay, he's at this amount. Okay, he's at this amount. So I could watch.
So it's, okay, like, if you play video games, right, whether anything strategic level, whether it's like StarCraft or whether it's something where you have like a god effect to where you can oversee everything, see what all is going on, and then do what you need to do where you need to do it. We're invested in what we're doing and obviously acutely aware of what each other else is doing, but very much focused on what it is we're doing. Jess can take more of a kind of from a top-down view of what everything is, and she doesn't get tunnel visioned on her own companies because she didn't have that problem.
I will correct. I do. Anybody who knows me knows I often will be like, "What's that? What is that?" I did want to throw a little bit of like, "Oh, I don't know what's good," when I had plans because I didn't want them to know that I had plans on what I was getting or what was happening. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what is that happening.
Anybody who's watched this show at this point, they know better.
Yeah.
What?
Why would you? And in directing, I helped you I was like, you don't want to do that because I was very much interested in Kodama and
Kuroshio
doing well. So it'd be like, why are you? He's fine. Don't bother him. Because that was in my best interest. But yeah, so it was. I thought it was a great time.
Yeah. Well,
can I say one point about the auction?
Yeah.
So I banked on getting the G, actually. I thought you would...
The G being the ferry, the one that...
You said you probably wouldn't want to deal with it. And I thought, well, no one else will want it because I'm the one then earning the least. Along with you and I, you'd let me deal with it and I'd take it. So I thought, well, I don't mind getting the G. I'd be quite happy to get it. And then you bought it.
It made sense that Jess did, though, because she was already not going to be able to
start. I didn't start right away. And I'm looking at this thing like, are you kidding me? Like, that's awesome.
So annoying. I totally would have snapped it. I was like, that's why I let you have the EO, because I was like, well, she'll have two companies. She'll already be like spending a lot of money. She probably will just say, okay, I shouldn't like totally ruin my chances of opening a company, and then I would just grab the G. But nope.
No, see, I was good with that. And you were saying like something about like you're hoping he bids, and I'm like, no, I'm really not.
Well, yeah, in hindsight, now I see that.
Why are you saying that? Because is this just me being naive? But I think I do because this is a free share later. Maybe I'll just invest. That was my backup plan.
I thought you'd try and get into the EO with the E and you'd leave the G alone.
And I really was fine. Like I kept saying like too with companies, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll start that. Maybe I want that.
And she kept dragging her feet. And I kept thinking, wow, you keep missing out. Really?
Yeah, I'm totally missing out.
The hell do I know, obviously. And as far as my thoughts, so, okay, This has been a 6-hour stream. There's no reason this
doesn't feel
game
like that,
ever.
no.
Well, it doesn't feel like it's been 6 hours. I have been completely engaged this whole time. However, no. If we were to sit down and play this again, I think it would be 3.5 to 4 hours at most, and it would continue to go down. Right. Plus an hour of that was the teach, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely.
Right. But every time I've played this, it has played out differently thus far. And the restricted track lays in this is much like 1830. I'm starting to come around a little bit. It's frustrating. You need to plan and you need to know. So it behooves you to actually know how this works. And none of us are at that level to where we know how the track upgrades and a whole 9 yards. And you guys saw in the peanut gallery people talking about, oh, it's amazing when people realize that this goes into this, their eyes open up to what the game can be. I'm coming around on that. But the thing that I do like that this has a lot more flexibility than something like in 1846 is I can do exactly what I did with the Red Company and just slough it off on somebody and manipulating priority deal and where that is and making sure that you're cognizant of that. There's all these little things like what Khan said about butterfly effect and how this little tiny change can have a massive ramification down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, had somebody not pulled the plug when they did in the auction, I would have gone to bid on something else as well.
Absolutely.
And so it completely changes how things are going to play out.
But there's so many ways to mitigate that, though, and respond and have those other plans.
Oh yeah. At no point did I feel like I got railroaded into any one thing in anything.
Yeah.
I felt like it was either my or our collective doing as to how I ended up where I ended up. I rolled the dice on starting the Kuroshio, and I was really legitimately worried about getting blocked out. But I was like, what the hell? Let's pull a plug. Let's pull a lever and see what happens. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done that.
If you might just suitcase it and force us to build into it.
I thought about doing that, but I was like, let me try this and see what happened. And I'm glad I did because
it was good.
It got to see how this played out. And
It is the game that makes me think the most about what every single other person is doing all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they will do things where you're like, they're only going to do A or B, and they do something, and you're like, why would you do
trying
that?
to keep that mental model in your head. And like you said, you do get sucked into running your own stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
You all were so focused. And I was surprised by this, but I could mitigate this too because you brought me down in paper, so I was able to get the.
Well, that was literally the only way it could hurt you. Like that was it.
It didn't hurt that bad.
It didn't hurt that bad.
I was mad at first, and then I'm like, this is one paper. I'm good. I can fix this. It was fine. But
so there you go. That is what I consider arguably the best jumping off place for the financial side and of the 1830 branch. Some people say 1830 is better. I think it plays longer. This won't play that long normally, but so 1830 would have been even longer. So keep that in mind. So 1846 on if you're more used to Euros, that tends to be more Euro friendly the way the game is. And then there's 1889, and then the whole world is your oyster from there. And the nice thing about this is you get somebody like Eric Brocious, who's played 1846 almost 300 times. And he still finds new stuff and sees new things.
That's like Joe Rashannon, I think it was his, for 18XX, the whole genre, he's at like 1,350 plays.
Yeah, and so there's tons of replayability.
My first ever 18XX, 2.5 hours. You just go.
Right. And we're going to have Eric Brocious and Joe Huber down to try and play 1846 in under 90 minutes. We're not going to stream it. We're going to record it and then upload it for everybody.
Yep.
So great.
So that's
going to be
that,
amazing.
folks, is one of the reasons I moved to Boston. So there you go. So all right, that's it. Any last thoughts, or are we good?
Well, just that there's a great 18XX community in Slack. So if you're interested in this at all, definitely consider pledging HC because you'll be able to ask questions, talk about your plays, learn about the games. So yeah, play.
I'd argue it's probably the busiest channel on the Slack channel.
It is,
the
and
18XX.
the insight that you gain from that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It really will make you feel more comfortable about it. So if there's interest,
And everybody's really pleasant, so that helps.
Yes.
So there you go. So thank you very much, everybody who watched and enjoyed. Hopefully, well, you guys enjoyed it. It was cool to see Mike Hutton, 18XX designer. Not that he trumps the rest of y'all. I'm just saying, it's kind of cool.
I think everybody was happy to see it.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody. Like and subscribe down below. Like Jess said, you want to support the show, go to pledgehc.com. I'm going to take a 30-minute break, come back with the weekly look ahead for next week, and then get ready for Game of Thrones. So I'll see you guys in 30 minutes with that. But other than that, catch you all later on this week. I'm Edward.
I'm Jess.
Andrew.
Colin.
Alan.
All right, and hopefully don't be a stranger. It was good having you on your first stream.
Thoroughly
It was a
enjoyed
good time. All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.